Not everything in Silicon Valley or any industry or life for that matter need be portrayed as home runs or strikeouts, success or failure. It's so ridiculous that it's portrayed that way, but it's what sells newspapers, so it's what you read about. You can have an idea that doesn't yield a better way to do your job or your career, but it changes your life. And what's that worth? Marry the right person. The most successful people I know are divorced, and they tell me it wasn't worth it. Don't do it. Don't sacrifice your families. Hold your children up high as your greatest inventions, because they are. I invented something that many of you use every day. You don't know it. It's buried in the enterprise, but I know it, and I know how it feels, and I'll tell you, it doesn't compare to every day holding that one's happy and healthy little hand. And by the way, don't step on anyone's neck to advance your cause. Don't sue anyone and try not to get sued. You'll sleep better at night. I've never been a party to a lawsuit in my technology career, and amen to that. My wife and I don't put work before our daughter or each other. Engineers in my company with similar families and I have been together for most of our careers. We don't waste time commuting to offices. We don't have each other over for dinner. We don't have holiday parties. We get it done, and then we see our families. I believe you can hear the siren call in your lives without it leading to you crashing against the rocks, and I think that's worth sharing. I agreed to join a nonprofit board, my primary school board, and it changed my life. I learned about parenting and education and philanthropy and what motivates people. The Union of Concerned Scientists just forecasted that nearly 4,400 homes in Marin County alone are going to be completely underwater in less than 30 years due to sea level rise. So my generation, your generation, we're going to have to do something. We're going to have to do something. For now, I keep searching for ideas, like taking our daughter to school on an electric tandem bicycle. We count the idling cars as we pass in traffic. We wave to them. They used to wave to us, but we're getting a little annoying now, so they kind of just, But it's something. It's something that we can do. Maybe you'll have an idea about attacking global warming, or maybe you'll have an idea about attacking poverty, or maybe you'll have an idea about attacking truth and news reporting. And maybe you'll do none of those things, but maybe you'll speak from your heart authentically in front of the person that you're going to marry, and maybe you'll be inspiring. In an increasingly unrecognizable world, my career trajectory should be recognizable to you. This means you can do what I've done. You can have this life. You can be happy in your career and your family. And if you want the world to know your name, well, then I applaud you. I really do. The world needs you. And I'll wish you every success. If you're willing to sacrifice it all, bet it all, blow out the curve, just remember my name as your backup plan. Do not go where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path, and leave a trail.
Poverty hurts. I mean, I don't like it. And I don't like that our academic system's so corrupt. So it's one of the most important messages I have for entrepreneurs is that failure should inspire you to get smarter. Don't let failure ever stop you. You know, use your brain, use your creativity. And unfortunately, our school system says if you fail, you're stupid. That is not true. So the lesson to young people is don't take a job for the money, take a job for what you're learning. In school, they compensate for risk by telling you to memorize the right answer. So in other words, these kids leave, young people like you, leave school thinking, oh, if I know the right answers, then there's no risk. And it drives old guys like me crazy. You know, we learn from our mistakes. Mistakes are opportunities to get smarter, be humble, and take a look at something. You know, millennials are the most highly educated. They know all the answers, but they're afraid of doing anything.
Robert Kiyosaki is a renowned author, investor, and entrepreneur who became famous for his best-selling book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. In the book, Kiyosaki talks about his own experiences growing up with two dads. His real dad, a highly educated college professor. The other, his best friend's dad, a self-made millionaire and entrepreneur. Robert noticed that despite his father's hard work and dedication to his job, he struggled financially and was not able to provide the kind of life he wanted for his family. On the other hand, Rich Dad, who never finished college, was able to build a successful business and accumulate significant wealth. Success doesn't come easily, especially when the education system fails to teach the fundamentals of business and money. However, you have two choices. Use that as an excuse and remain uneducated, or rewire your brain, be open to new information, and learn how to be successful.
You know, the most important thing is change the neural pathways in your brain. And the brain is driven by your heart. And when I meet somebody with an employee's brain, they say, I want job security. I want a good pension. Does that have medical benefits? That's their brain. I can't help them. They got to rewire the brain, yeah. Because the economy takes place between this year and this year. That's where the economy takes place, and in your heart and in your guts. I started playing Monopoly. I was 9 years old. You know, everybody's playing Monopoly, except I play it in real life. You know, 4 greenhouses, 1 red hotel, tax-free. And if you're really going to learn to be rich, you have to learn how to sell, how to use debt, and how not to pay taxes. That's the game.
Kiyosaki realized that there's a gap between the rich and the poor, and that traditional education and employment do not necessarily lead to financial freedom. What does the school system teach about money? Nothing. Our current education system is outdated and fails to focus on topics that would prove much more beneficial to students. While finances and taxes may not be as entertaining as chemistry or biology, having such knowledge would better serve most students as they move into adulthood.
Today in the world, America especially, is this gap between the rich and everybody else. And I know the game of the rich. You know, my rich dad taught me, you know it because you're the banker. The game the bankers and the rich play is different than what they teach you in school. And that's the story of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. You know, my poor dad, PhD, stands for poor, helpless, and desperate. They don't know anything about money. And they're teaching our kids. And my rich dad was an entrepreneur who never finished school. The pieces of the puzzle and my life started to come together. The question I ask all over the world, what does school teach you about money? And the answer is nothing. And that's not a mistake. That's not an accident. I knew that, most people know that. But the way to keep the poor and middle class working hard is never teach them what the rich know. So if you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which came out in 1997, it's what the rich teach their kids about money, the poor and middle class do not.
Many of us who have not learned about money likely share one common belief. Debt is bad and dangerous and should be avoided. There are countless stories of people who have run up their credit cards to the point that they cannot pay them off. Many people accumulate student loan debt as they try to gain an education. These people then spend much of their life desperately fighting and trying to dig themselves out of debt. However, there is good debt and bad debt. It can be a powerful tool for those who understand how to use it.
Debt is a 4-letter word for most people. There are many people in my position, so-called financial gurus, who say live totally debt-free. And there's other people who say cut up your credit cards. And you know, that's good advice for certain types of people. So you should definitely cut up your credit cards if you don't know, you can't control your spending. Income, expense, asset, liability. So debt falls in here. You know, everybody says, I'm going to buy a house. And everybody says, my house is an asset. That's not true. Your house is a liability. I don't care if you have no debt on it or not. A house is a liability. Same as if you have a car. A car is a liability. The average person, they have a job. Money comes in here. They pay for their house. And the money goes to a bank through a mortgage. So it's not an asset because the cash is flowing out. So it's a liability. So the definition of liability, does it take money from your pocket? And for an asset, does it put money in your pocket? So when I have a rental property here, it puts money in my pocket. When I rent a property, I've done a good job buying it and structuring it. Every month it sends me money. And the other thing about debt, there's good debt and bad debt. which I classify student loan debt as bad debt. The main reason it's bad debt is because it's the worst possible type of debt. You see, if I get into trouble as a businessman with debt, I can declare bankruptcy and I'm clean. But the trouble with student loan debt, you can't do that. You know, it hangs around your neck for the rest of your life. So what most people do is they have student loan debt, SL, and that debt is going out this way. You know, it doesn't put any money in your pocket. You can say, well, I have a job. Well, that's still you working for it. So I don't work for any of this money here. I do this job once, set the deal up. Every year I add more and more and more of it. I'm borrowing money from here. It's coming here and going this way. So the debt is putting money in my pocket, and bad debt is taking money from my pocket. So the problem is, if you're going to use debt, you've got to be much smarter than this person here. Because you buy a piece of real estate and you make a mistake, this turns into a liability. This, if I get the renter leaves the place, this goes here that fast, and the cash flows that way. So it's nothing to do whether it's a boat, student loan debt, a house, a car, or whatever. It has to do with these two words here. If the cash is flowing into your income statement, into your pocket, it's an asset. It's good debt. But if it's taking money from your pocket, it's bad debt.
A catalyst for success is to find a mentor in your area, someone who has done what you want to do, someone who is where you want to be. Years of experience and countless failures make them seasoned veterans and excellent teachers. They won't do the work for you, but having someone to support and guide you will accelerate your progress towards achieving your goals.
And she says, if you're going to be successful in your life, you've got to find the best teachers. And so with that, when my poor dad said, go seek out your rich dad, I was just following her advice. And today, that's why you and I know Jim Rickards and Nomi Prinz and all these people. They're the guys that actually came from the inside, just like you, from the inside the machine. And they know what's going on. And they tell the world what's going on. So I've had a habit ever since then, or a policy, if I find out there's a great teacher, and a great teacher is somebody who comes from the inside, not the outside.
It's true. Money makes the world work. Whether you have entrepreneurial aspirations or not, financial literacy is an important subject that everyone should learn. We hope you don't feel like a financial education is unobtainable just because the school system neglects it. Search out financial knowledge on your own. Read books. Look for YouTube videos. The resources are out there. Dedicate yourself to learning about money now, and your future self will thank you.
Boredom is the drug you need to avoid, because that's where people start making bad choices. Typically, they don't become a drug addict, they become a consumer of garbage. They waste time, they consume excuses. Dude, I got 168 hours in a week, I think that's what it is. Dude, I want to use them all, man.
You need to make goals that are giant. Not like your mom and dad said. Your mom and dad said, tone it down, you know, have some reasonable goals, something attainable. And that what happens is when the goal is attainable, it's no longer exciting. Because if you can go get it easily, you're going to take it for granted. I could be perfect for everybody in the room. Half the people are still going to be like, you know, he's too cocky, he's too this, he's too that. I'm 57 years old. I spent 30 years trying to please people. I ended up with nothing, man. When I finally said, you know what, I'm done, dude. The more energy I spent trying to please people, make you happy, them happy, mom happy, daddy happy, I still couldn't make everybody happy. I'm like, you know what, I'm done, dude. I'm gonna make me happy. I'm gonna run my gig. This is my life. I wanna create the life I want for me, and if you don't like that life, you probably don't even like your life, because that's the people that end up criticizing me.
So the game is, how do I get it? How do I keep it? How do I fortify it? How do I support it? How do you keep making this thing bigger and bigger and protecting it? Again, a lot of people can get it, but can you keep it? And then can you make it bigger? That means people. I need good people. I need more ideas. I need more production. I need to not get complacent. Absolutely, I want to do things I don't want to do. I hear guys say, I don't do stuff I don't want to do. Who are you? Who's taking care of you then? How arrogant that you wouldn't do something you don't want to do.
Most people grow up poor and they want to move up. We never hear any stories about people that start in the middle and go straight down, okay? And I went straight down and then down and then down. I'm a guy that grew up in the middle class. All I do is do drugs all day long. I don't learn a damn thing, nothing. One night, there's a deal that goes down in my house. Me and another buddy are partying. I open the door to walk this dude out, and this other guy jumps up on this step, puts a .45 caliber pistol right in my face, literally right here in my face. Jammed the barrel right into my head. You can see the scar right here, okay? Then he took the back of it and started hammering both sides of my head, underneath the mouth, on top of the head, put 76 stitches in my head and face. And I went to the hospital. 28 days later, I was in a treatment center for drug addiction. And I finally put my first couple of days not using drugs together. But more importantly than not doing something, I started something that day. I'm going to become somebody. If you turn the TV on, you're gonna hear bad news, bad news, bad news. That's bad enough, but then the ads that follow the bad news. Are you sick yet? Do your legs hurt? I mean, it's ad after ad after ad about why you have actually felt. It's kind of going back to what we're talking about right now. Why am I so alive? It's because I want to be in the upward cycle, regardless of my age. I want to be in the upward cycle of creation. Money is a terrifying thing because it's the one thing in life. You know, the NFL is not going to give me the ball, and I'm never going to get a chance to golf. I can't win in those environments, but with money, everybody gets money. It's the one place where everybody gets it, and now what do? And I can lose it now. So it's a terrifying concept. You know, very few of us ever get any kind of influence or power, right? Once you get it, you're like, hey, what do I do with this? Am I going to do the right things with it? And so I think people withhold themselves because we're not educated about money. We don't know where it comes from. We have a lot of misinformation about it. Our parents terrified us. You know, money doesn't grow on trees. Save your money, it'll save you. All these things our parents told us because they were encumbered with the same kind of liabilities around money. Right. I don't know how to get it. I don't know how to keep it. And the worst part that we're all at is I don't know how to invest it. And this is what our parents didn't understand, okay? So Bob or Betty goes out and they work and they do really well and they make 200 grand a year. Maybe they're online doing online sales. Hustle, sell, trading their most valuable thing. This is what I did for 25 years. From 25 to 51 years old. Spent my most valuable asset, time, to get money, terrified every second of every day. That's really what's driven me the whole time, was terror. Like, when you don't know, you're gonna be scared. Yeah. So I'm going out to get money. I won't spend any of it because I'm terrified if I don't know how to get more. I'm worried I can't keep getting more. So what do you do with $1,000, right? You know, I think you just got to keep investing in you until like, oh, now I'm making $3,000. Okay, boom, reinvest all that again. But what we do is we start taking it off the table, right? So I think people just need to get on that cycle of like, okay, I'm gonna keep repeating this activity. I'm gonna reinvest some money in myself, go to the workshop or whatever. Monday, I gotta be hustling again. Until, okay, now I got $4,000. Okay, now I got $5,000. Now the income's starting to pick up. Income has to pick up. The income should be an indication that whatever you're learning is helping you. Until one day you're like, okay, I have more money here than I can actually, there's nothing I can go to get rid of this money. You need to get rid of that money though. You shouldn't put money in a house, you should put money in your brand. You should put money in the marketing. You should promote yourself, not put money in where you and the kids live. Because it's dead money. I mean, a house can't make you money. A house does not make you money. The only reason people think a house makes them money is they're comparing it to if I rent, that costs me money. But if you need to go to a hospital, you don't buy the hospital, you rent a bed to get out of there as fast as you can. If you go on a trip, you go to America and you want to go to Disneyland, you don't buy the hotel, you rent a room. And nobody thinks poorly of that. They're like, yeah, I'm gonna go there, use the place and get out. That's what you should be doing with your living. Find a place where you can rent, pay rent monthly. Don't own the house. And take all the money that you would have put in that house purchase, down payment, extra money, fixing it up, use all that money to improve your business and yourself so that you can get more money. I do stuff constantly I don't want to do. It doesn't matter what I want to do. You know, what's my purpose? What's my potential? And am I willing to work toward that? So an idea that I would work 4 hours, no, well, that's just not real for me. If you told me, hey man, I got this opportunity for you to work part-time, I have zero interest. I want to be great at what I'm doing. And I know without reading any book, I have to dedicate time and energy, effort, and I have to hit. I have to be frequent. I've never gotten good at anything. Everything's it's been a lot of work for me. So everything for me
whether I'm that little uncoordinated kid, it's taken a lot. It's taken me 30 years to find any kind of success or any sense of, okay, I'm starting to find myself. Probably 2,000 or 3,000 speaking engagements before I felt like I was comfortable on stage. 3 businesses that were freaking jamming before I said, you might actually be a legitimate businessman. Now we're at 7 businesses. We'll do probably 150 million bucks this year. I'll hit $1 billion in real estate probably before the year's over. I'm just starting to feel like, maybe I'm gonna make it.
My dad had various nicknames for me. He'd call me Fireball sometimes because I'd start little businesses. He didn't care about money at all. He believed very much in having an inner scorecard and I never worry about what other people are thinking about you. Just if you know why you're doing what you're doing, that's good enough.
When I want to do something, I always want to do it big.
I've said many times that 65 or 70, and the people that you want to have love you actually do love you, you're a success.
Some people should not own stocks at all because they just get too upset with price fluctuations. If you're going to do dumb things because your stock goes down, you shouldn't own a stock at all.
The first books I read on investment were actually in my dad's office.
I just read and read and read. I probably read 5 to 6 hours a day.
I figured out very early, you don't have to be that smart at this business, which is fortunate, but you do have to have the right temperament.
The best gift I was ever given was to have the father that I had when I was born.
Known as the Oracle of Omaha, the 91-year-old Warren Buffett is one of the most successful investors of all time. He went from buying his first stock at age 11 to running Berkshire Hathaway, a multinational holding company with total assets nearing $1 trillion. Often appearing on lists alongside Bill Gates and Elon Musk, his current net worth is $105 billion, placing him as the 7th richest person in the world. Despite such enormous wealth, he maintains a simple lifestyle. He lives in the same home that he bought back in 1958 for $31,500. He makes his daily commute in his 2014 Cadillac XTS, often stopping by McDonald's for breakfast before heading into the office. So for someone with such a simple routine and more money than he could possibly spend, what makes him happy?
I would have to be honestly say that what makes me happiest is what I'm doing. I know I'll win over time. That doesn't mean I'll beat everybody else or anything like that, but I'm in a game that's very, very, very easy if you have the right lessons in your mind about what you're buying. I'm not buying stocks. I'm buying pieces of overwhelmingly American business. And I'm happy when that's happy, when I'm doing it. I'm happy when stocks are going down. I'm happier when stocks are going down because I can buy more of them with the same amount of money. I'd be happy if I was a farmer. I'd want farmland to go down so I could buy more acreage. If I was, it just makes sense.
The best boat you can have is your own talent. They can't take it away from you. Inflation can't take it from you. Taxes can't take it from you. So, when I talk to students, I see these students and I tell them, you're $1 million asset. I would pay you $100,000 to the MBAs for 10% of the earnings for the rest of your life. So that makes you $1 million asset. Now, if you can do something to increase that value 50%, if you can learn to communicate better verbally or in written form, and you become 50% more, that's $500,000 just by improving yourself. Nobody can take that away from you. And so I urge everybody, when I talk to them in high school about this and colleges, just develop the habits. You've got the brain power, you've got the energy, but develop the habits of success and look around you at the people that you admire, and list what makes you admire them compared to somebody else that looks equally strong or equally talented. And those are things that you can do. Just write them down and people like people that they like them if they're humorous, if they're friendly, if they give credit to the other fellow. And they don't like them if they're stingy, or they overstate and overpromise and all those sort of things. Well, that's a decision you make. So I encourage everybody to build your own moat around yourself.
Accumulating such a large net worth doesn't happen if you're average at what you do. Clearly, Warren Buffett is at the top of the investing game. Here's some of his best investing advice.
All you have to do is just buy a cross-section of America and then never
listen to people like me or read the papers or do anything subsequently. They think that because you can trade, you should trade. You buy a farm, you buy an apartment house, you can't resell it tomorrow, and the cost of moving around. Now you get something handed to you, liquidity, which is instant. You can sell, and the cost of doing it are pennies, compared to other kinds of investment activity. So because they can so easily move around, they do move around, and moving around is not smarter than investing. By far the best investment you can make is in yourself. For example, communication skills. I tell the students that come that they're going to graduate schools and business, and they're learning all these complicated formulas and all that. If they just learn to communicate better, and both in writing and in person, they increase their value at least 50%. If you can't communicate, somebody says, it's like winking at a girl in the dark. Nothing happens, basically. And you have to be able to get forth your ideas, and that's relatively easy. I did it myself. It's just hugely important. And if you invest in yourself, nobody can take it away from you. Well, life advice is, the most important thing is really who you associate with. You want to associate with people that are better than you are. Basically, you'll go in the direction of the people that you associate with, and you want to have the right heroes. You want people, if you want to emulate somebody, you better pick very carefully who you want to emulate. And obviously, you can't pick your parents. They're going to have an enormous influence on you, but you don't get a choice on that. But you get choices as you go down the line, and who you admire, who you want to copy, and the most important for most people in terms of that decision is their spouse. It's also important in terms of a partner in business, but the partner in life is the most important one. You want to pick a spouse that's a little bit better than you are, and then he or she, and you hope they don't figure it out too fast.
I'll leave you with this metaphor Warren uses to encourage everyone to take care of themselves.
I was in high school, almost a third as long as the country has been around. And when I was in high school, I really only had two things on my mind: girls and cars. and I wasn't doing very well with girls, so we'll talk about cars. But let's just imagine that when we finish, I'm going to let each one of you pick out the car of your choice. Sounds good, doesn't it? Pick it out, any color, you name it. It'll be tied up with a bow, and it'll be at your house tomorrow. And you say, well, what's the catch? And the catch is that it's the only car you're going to get in your lifetime. Now, what are you going to do knowing that that's the only car you're ever going to have and you love that car? You're going to take care of it like you cannot believe. Now, what I'd like to suggest, you're not going to get only one car in your lifetime, but you're going to get one body and one mind, and that's all you're going to get. And that body and mind feels terrific now, but it has to last you a lifetime. You get exactly one mind and one body in this world, and you can't start taking care of it when you're 50. By that time, you'll have rusted out if you haven't done anything. So you should really make sure that you just remember that you just got one mind and body to get through life with and to do the most with it.
Wealthy people do three things, man. They stop trading time for money, they make their money work for them, and they give as much value to people as they can. The reason why people think wealthy people or people with money are sinister is because that's what you kind of taught in the hood. Like you kind of taught like the people who really have money, like they did some wicked shit to get it. They did some backstabbing, cutthroat shit to get it, and you'll never get that. All them people with money, they all crooks, because being at the bottom teaches you to envy people at the top. One of the things that happens often in the culture of Black people is survival mode. You never get a chance to play offense. You're always on defense. One, because of mindset, because you don't see it. Again, the dope dealer and the rapper, everybody who's working is struggling. And so you never want to be that. A good business is just like a good hustler. A good business has great product, they have great clientele, a great hustler has a great product, he has consistent clientele. I understand that knowledge is what gives us leverage in life. It's not about how strong you are, it's about what you can learn. And then how can you actively apply that? I have this acronym called FEAR, finally exiting average reality, right? And what happens is, until we can overcome the fear, some people actually fear success. Success comes with a lot, right? But until you can overcome that average reality that you're living in, no matter what you're on, once you become comfortable there, it becomes average. Anyone can live in average. Everyone can live in mediocrity, right? Then there's those outliers who consistently push themselves to go to the next level. And the thing about the human mind and the human body, it will go as far as you push it. As long as you believe in it, like you said, the only belief that matters is, what do you believe you can do? I personally believe that there is nothing I cannot do. And for me, it's all about impact, purpose, fulfillment. Like, the money is a byproduct of everything else. That isn't my focus. My focus is I have a knowledge and information that I know that can change lives. Not just one life, not just like lives. And so the way that you change lives is by consistently learning, finding new ways to put that information out there, being able to open up, being able to be vulnerable, because people need to connect. People connect to knowledge in the way that they can see two things that help people: imagery and vocabulary. What they see and what they hear, right? So most people won't connect to a certain knowledge because the people who speak it don't relate, and two, can't speak the knowledge in the way that they can eat it. So for me, it's always about, how do I attain as much? It's always a challenge for me. How can I attain as much knowledge as I can, because I love learning, but then how do I take that and be able to now reciprocate it or give it to somebody who may not understand calculus or trigonometry, but if I can give it to them in this way, they can say, oh yeah, I got it. And there's more people that struggled in the world that has become successful. So struggle has to become a language that I struggle. So that's the language I'm great at. So if I can break down things into a struggle language, now I make it the game winnable for everybody. And that's the goal, to make the game winnable for everybody who's bold enough to step into the batting cage. If you're bold enough to do it, there's an experience that comes from that. And that experience is so exhilarating, it will take you to the next level. Because now you keep chasing the next level of you. And that is when you start understanding life at a whole nother concept, when you start understanding that, yo, for the longest, I was just low level living. I was low level thinking. Now that I've been exposed to something, and I say this often, whatever you haven't been exposed to isn't your fault. Once you get exposed to it, you now are accountable for it. And so once I've become exposed to so much knowledge and information, once I expose you to it, you're accountable, because now you can no longer say, I didn't know. So like, just coming up in the streets, you only see the game from the lowest level. And you look at everybody else in part admiration and part like jealousy, because you see it and you're like, damn, I'll never get there, right? And so the only way that I think I can get that is through sports or hustling. That's it. That's the only, or rapping. Those are the only three options that you have. And so you make a decision on which way you want to go, right? And so you look at it from like, damn. And so me, I'm at the time like, man, I can't rap. Damn sure I can't play sports. So hustling is what I got. You limit yourself, and nobody comes along and teaches you anything different. The reason why you give people so much value is because if you give them so much value, they'll never leave you, and they'll always be there for you, and you will never need for anything as long as you give value to people. And so I learned that as I got older. That part really didn't make sense to me at the time, but the money working for you part, and I was like, how do you make your money work for you? Again, all I know is how to go get money. That's all I know. So later on in that, he says wealthy people do three things. So this we in a cell for about 45 days. So all of his conversations, now that you said, it never was black or white. Every conversation with him about money and transition was always wealthy people do. It was always, it wasn't white people do, it wasn't black people, it was always wealthy people do this. Right. Wealthy people do this. And I was like, damn, and now that you said that, this now makes sense to me again. So he says, wealthy people, first they get into stocks, then they start a business, and then they get real estate. So when people ask me, how did I get into stocks? It's because I follow that rule. I was like, first, if he would have said real estate, business, I would have been the real estate trap. But he said stocks first, and I was like, damn. And so I just, my rest of my time in prison, I wanted to be that. I wanted to be a part of that wealthy conversation.
Explain that basic idea of ownership for people that might not quite put it together that stocks really are owning that company.
Mm-hmm. So I actually got that term from Warren Buffett. Owning a stock is owning a percentage of a great business. And so once I understood that concept, I understood that the key to wealth is through ownership. Like that was one of the things that made it click, because I studied the wealthy people. Like I studied them. And I was like, damn. When you study Reginald White, one of the first black man to make $1 billion on Wall Street, it was about, he wanted it to have ownership. So I said the key to building wealth is not how much you can work. You can't work your way to wealth. You gotta invest your way there. And all wealthy people, black, white, Asian, Chinese, they own a whole bunch of shit. The people who aren't wealthy is because they don't own nothing. You only have your money sitting in cash. If your money is just sitting in cash, realistically, you're becoming poorer every day.
Right, or they own depreciating assets.
And that's what cash is. It's a depreciating asset, because the more money they print, the more money that money loses value. Right. So if it's just sitting, it's the reason why the bank wants you to have your money there, so they can take it and use it and invest it so much and be like, hey, it's just sitting, I'm gonna give you 50 cents on whatever you had in there. Right. And so the idea of ownership was, we can just start owning everything that no matter if it's just a stock. Like, that's powerful, because if you can start owning the businesses that you now consume every day, you turn a one-time transaction to a lifetime of profit. And that was major for me, because if I go to the store and buy a pair of Nikes, that's a one-time transaction. In order for me to get something from them again, I gotta come back and buy another pair of Nikes. But if I own the Nike stock, long as I own it, it's a profitable vehicle for me. So that one-time transaction can become a lifetime of profit if I own that business. If I'm gonna buy Apple, if I know I'm an Apple user, if I know I got the phone, I got the AirPods, I got the MacBook, I got the PC, I excited when Apple's about to drop something, why wouldn't I own it? As much of it as I can. And so now, instead of me getting excited about Apple line being around the corner because it's a new phone, I'm like, y'all about to make me some money. And another great thing about the stock market is, for me, it now makes me pay attention to the world. And so now I understand what's going on in the world. I started learning business cycles, market cycles. You know what I'm saying? Like, because now I can understand, this is okay. Things are going out of business. Okay, we're in this cycle. Okay, people are hiring. Okay, we're in expansion cycle. And so now I took an economic class on my own without just understanding the world. And so you start understanding when something is happening in China. Okay, something happening in China, so I own Apple. Apple has 20% of their revenue in China. Okay, they might take a little hit right now. You know what I'm saying? So the stock market helped me start understanding how the world moves, the fundamentals.
Right.